to the Psychotic Break. I'm Madey,
And I'm Kimmy.
and we have a fun little episode for you guys. We are titling this episode Psychobabble because we don't have anything prepared, and we did that on purpose. I realized as that was coming out of my mouth, I was just like, oh, that doesn't sound good. But no, we purposely don't have anything planned. We're just going to talk and see where it leads us because we like to digress, as you guys know. So we need that platform for us to do it comfortably, or else we'll go crazy or make the other episodes super long.
Not necessarily a bad thing, but this is going to be fun and slightly risky because it's freaky to not have a topic at hand to really rely on. Oh
It
well.
is. So I guess let's just get started. Kimmy, is there anything that's been on your mind this week? Psychology related?
Well, I just finished up my summer class for health psych, so I have all of that in my brain. Um, it's slightly biology related, and when I first learned it, and it's really stupid, don't get me wrong, but it's in health psych because it was indirectly punishing the people. But you may find this stupid and truly a digression. If you're not gluten free, you should not be eating gluten free products because you're actually destroying your body more because you're removing lots of nutrients that are found in gluten naturally by eating gluten free. Only people that are actually have like a diagnosed celiac disease should not be eating gluten because obviously it's not good for them. But most people that are claiming to be gluten free because their body reacts weirdly to gluten free products, it's actually a different type of thing in the gluten that you're reacting to, but you're not able to like know that.
Well, that is quite an interesting tidbit of information. I feel a little bit guilty because I've definitely tried the gluten-free stuff at
Yeah.
Trader Joe's just because it looks nice. I mean, do you ever see a packaged food item that says organic and you just think, oh, that's healthy. That's something I should eat. That's how I view gluten.
Oh god.
So I walk into the grocery store, I see gluten, I'm like, oh, that's probably good for me. I'm gonna buy that.
See, you're falling into the health halo effect,
Oh,
which is very controversial actually because the guy that invented like the term health halo effect actually got discredited for a majority of his papers because he falsified the information. But the health halo effect is literally as you described. You look at a brand and the title says something like gluten free, organic, when in reality, who knows if that's even true? Legit no clue. It's like with Annie's. Annie's mac and cheese is always organic, but they added a new box that says organic, and that one's always sold out, but they're exactly the same because they've already been established as an organic company for all of their food.
well, that's a nice way to make extra money.
It is, and most places are trying to do that, but if they get caught, obviously that's going to be a big issue because you lied to people and probably caused them tummy problems.
Right. Well, not to bring this back to placebo effect so soon, but that really is placebo effect. You go into the store, you see organic, you buy it because you think it's going to make you
Yeah.
feel better or be healthier.
See, my only I don't know if as you're thinking about this because you've fallen for it, it's something I thought about that is I'm pretty sure just me being dramatic, but it's slightly upsetting to think that gluten-free products have become so full ranged because you can enter an aisle that's completely gluten-free, but that wouldn't have existed unless everyone thought they were gluten-free because they're actually reacting to a different type of thing. But then at the same time, if we didn't have such a binge of gluten free and like almost the popularity of the concept, we would not give these options to the people with actual celiac.
Right. That's tough. I mean, a lot of people will go through their life just eating gluten or other things that's really not good for their body, and
Yeah.
they'll just never know. I know a person who is allergic to eggs, and they only found that out after the fact that they've been eating eggs every single day for their entire lives. And this person has a lot of stomach issues, as you could probably guess. And he only found out about the allergy because he took some sort of fun food test. Like, you know that there's 23andMe, it tells you
Yeah.
that your genetic history. Well, apparently there's another test out there that you can take that will tell you exactly what foods are optimal for your body and what foods you may be allergic to. When he found out he was allergic to eggs, he was so angry because he loves eggs. He literally has eggs every single day. So I bet the guy feels great now not having eggs in his diet, but that makes me wonder, what foods am I eating that are actually hurting me?
Well, big example of that is probably everyone with lactose.
Ooh,
As Asians, we're not meant to eat it, but as American Asians, we will devour the shit out of it.
ice cream's my favorite thing ever.
But what about, oh, wait, is it? Oh, I think it's sorbet that's all fruit. Could you ever replace ice cream with. No.
No, it's all about that creaminess, baby. I love the creamy ice cream, especially if I go to Cold Stone. Oh, my favorite ice cream place.
So that's controversial because I did not know that you were supposed to mix the ice cream with toppings every time I went in there. I just kept thinking, this place is so freaking bland. They only have 8 flavors, and for what? Thank you, Baskin Robbins, with their 31 and sometimes seasonal flavors. But that's on me, so.
It is on you. I mean, it's so cool watching them mix it in. And my favorite ice cream place of all time, and wow, we're not even talking about psychology. But I'm sure the people want to know about ice cream. Who doesn't want to know about ice cream? Anyways, my favorite ice cream place is Creamistry, and the closest one around here used to be in Cupertino, but they closed down. But it's a nitrogen ice cream place. You have, I'm trying to not make this sound disgusting. You have basically just melted ice cream, like just the liquid part of it. Maybe you have milk and then you add some flavoring to it, and then they use and then toppings obviously, and then they use liquid nitrogen to freeze it while it's churning. That way you have like fresh made ice cream.
There was one in Palo Alto, which concerns me. Were you driving all the way to Cupertino?
Is there one in Palo
There
Alto?
used to be, because I've tried this once. I did not end up liking it. I thought it was overpriced when I could just get it, but there used to be. But that makes me think of rolled ice cream, the whole idea that this thing is being made in front of you with like this very cold platform.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of ways to enjoy ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh, what we were talking about before that was was lactose intolerance. One thing I believe is everyone is lactose intolerant, and those who say they aren't are lying about it.
I would like to hear your thoughts on this because there are definitely people that are more prone to it. People, like, generationally, dairy was not in really Asia. That's not a common thing. But I'm picturing Europeans are digesting a crap load of dairy, but would.
Perhaps genetics is a part of it, but I really do think that we're just not meant to have milk. I mean, who in their right mind thought, "Oh, I'm just going to drink from my cow today?"
Well, I'm picturing if cows don't get milked for some reason, this is probably stupid, and obviously I'm a psych major, not some stupid animal one. Not stupid, but enraged. If this is so awful. If they don't get milked, they'll become bigger and explode. It's kind of like shitting. If I don't shit for a while, I get bigger and bigger. And that's what I'm picturing with a cow. They need that release. It's like gas, except gas from cows are actually very bad for the environment, which is why people should cut down and become vegetarian.
Right, methane. Wait, does that mean you don't eat meat?
I don't eat red meat, but I
Mm.
really like bacon.
Bacon's good. I like bacon too. All right, well, let's stop talking about food. I mean, not that I don't love talking about it, but let's talk about. I was thinking about bystander effect today.
Oh, wait, why?
So I was watching a TED Talk, as I do, and I was watching this TED Talk about AI not being able to read the faces of Black people. And it's really messed up, but this person basically found that the algorithm that they use, and the whole video, the whole TED Talk was about algorithmic bias. We create these algorithms which are shortcuts, mental shortcuts that allow us to solve a problem quicker.
Yeah,
But what happens when that algorithm is biased and it finds the quickest way to identify a white face, but just doesn't ever register the features of a black face? So what she found was she was using this AI. It was simple, just looking at a face, eyes, nose, a couple of other features, and then it identifies you. But it couldn't identify her face. So what she did is she put on a white mask, like the ones that you see at masquerades. Sure enough, it read her face. So she was an undergrad at that time, and she was like, I don't think I'm gonna deal with this right now. I'm just going to turn in my project using my white friend here, and then someone else will figure it out.
yeah,
Well, she finds out later down the road that no one had figured it out yet. No one cared enough. So she ended up doing the work for it, but it got me thinking, how often do people realize these issues in psychology and they just don't do anything about it because they assume someone else will? That's
yeah.
pretty awful.
Well, first of all, I'm amazed that an undergraduate wouldn't take the opportunity to conquer something so big because that's a name thing. Like you're gonna be famous for that. But yeah, especially because like the example that we're always given as to why bystander effect exists is the extreme. Someone gets murdered. It just at that, but it's hard because if I were in that situation, would I call or would I give in? Like, I'm aware that this thing exists, but if someone were getting murdered, not married, hopefully they're getting married, but if they were getting murdered in front of me, I'm not gonna intervene. If they got a knife, I'm gonna be honest. That scares me. However, would I call someone? I would like to think I would, but would I? Who knows?
It depends on the situation, and you have to keep in mind that if it were actually happening to you, obviously you would do something because you know about bystander
Yeah.
effect. Most people don't. Hopefully, after listening to this podcast, they will. But most people will just assume that other people will notice and other people will do something about it. That's the issue with living on a planet that's populated by so many people. Responsibility just kind of becomes watered down.
Yeah. Oh, we're such awful humans. Oh my lord.
Not all of us.
But it really does depend on the situation and the amount of people and the individual to assume that there's no one else around, I should be the one, or there is a bunch of people around, someone else is bound to, and that's and especially with modern technology, I get with like the Kinney Genovese, I think that's her name.
Yeah.
She they were in an apartment building and they interviewed all of those people and they all made the assumption that someone else would have done it. However, like with modern technology, nowadays people just pull out a camera and that's documented. That's great and all, but that's not a phone call and there's like that switch that's happened and I think we skipped over the calling the person instead of just taking it out and putting it on World Star.
Yeah. No, there's definitely too much anonymity. Got it right the first time. There was one episode where we just could not say that word. But there's a lot of the feeling of being anonymous, and it's really unfortunate. I just watched a movie yesterday. I rewatched it. It's a movie called Nerve. Emma Roberts and, oh, I
Dave
think
Franco?
Dave Franco.
Mm.
They were in it, and the premise of the story is it's a truth or dare game without the truth. You're just doing all of these dares and you're making a lot of money, and the winner gets to keep the money and gets to claim all the glory. So, where was I going with this? Oh, the other people in the game are just watchers. They can use their phones to document these people or see what's happening and see all the dangerous dares that they're doing. And not to be a total spoiler, but there are guns involved at the very end, and then the watchers get to vote if someone gets to be killed that night. So it's a series of things escalating, and it's definitely a comment on the bystander effect, where we're just hiding behind our screens and just watching these things go down and not taking any responsibility. So it just makes me think, could we really be capable of that? I think we could.
I mean, it's already happened. There are tons of things that there's a site I think called Fluff or something. It's a very cute name for something that's very not cute, but they have open videos of like ISIS beheadings and stuff, and people can just casually watch that, and it's not been taken down. Obviously, it still exists because I apparently know about this thing, but in that one, in just the case of all of that, where we're all just bystanders watching, even digitally, how do people not feel guilty? Like, if I finally realized and I saw it in the news, like, the person I was voting on or watching actually died and it wasn't fake, because in the back of my mind, I would try to say it's fake, it's fake. I'm not a bad person for watching this. But once you find out it's real, do you not freak out and feel immensely guilty?
I would say people need to be called out more
Yeah.
often. I don't know why I always think back to this, but I think back to middle school where we were getting the AED training, and people were always making fun of this, but the whole idea was, if someone is choking, if someone is having a heart attack and you are trying to help them, you have to point to someone in particular
Oh,
and be like,
yes.
hey, you call 911. Hey, you get an AED. It was just so stupid, but it makes a lot of sense. If you don't put responsibility on someone, they're just going to hide behind the anonymity that is the entire group. And no one's ever going to call them out because you're in a big group, you're invisible.
I've never thought about that. I'm just picturing if I told someone, because in the moment we're all stressing, we all don't know what to do. This one person does take the initiative and is like, I'm going to tell you what to do, and you're going to do it to save this person's life, and we have a short amount of time. I got pointed out and said, grab an AED. I'd probably stand there and be like, what the frick did you just say to me? Like, what is this thing? I think I would question it before actually taking the initiative to do what they told me to do, or give it to someone else who actually does know. Like, ugh.
I mean, is anyone going to really know what to do in a situation like that?
Other than like actual professionals that, by the grace of God, hopefully they are there.
Mhm.
If they're not, then in the nicest way, someone might be screwed.
Yeah. That makes me think of a really sad thought that I've been thinking progressively as I grow up is, are we just becoming more and more useless? I'm going to bring it back to our first few episodes talking about biology and how we were built to fight off saber-toothed tigers and whatnot. And we definitely can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
However, more and more people are surviving because of the technology that other people have created, the medicine that other people have created. We didn't create it. You and I didn't create it. Most likely, if you're listening to this, okay, if you did create something like that and you're listening to this, I have questions for you. I am flattered by you, but most likely average people are watching this and you didn't create something like that, but you're benefiting from the other people who did. So it makes me wonder, what skills do we really have to survive that would help us in a situation like that. I guess my question is, are we becoming worse and worse under pressure?
Damn, okay. I have nope, I think I forgot the first one already. Um, okay, no, I actually have the three things. The first one
Hmm.
is you're completely right. I'm glad that you pointed this out because I use YouTube to look up shit all the time. How do you change a tire? Would look it up on the side of the road. If there was no cellular like service, I would be screwed. Secondly, actually, I'm going to circle back to the secondly because it's kind of long. Third, by adding the question at the end, I may not get my second, but I'm going to skip to the second because I once woke up from my power nap, and for me, a power nap is 5 hours or less. I'm an idiot, I know. But I had the
REM sleep? Okay, continue.
I'm not proud of it. I was really messed up with college, but after that nap, I woke up with the revelation, the meaning of life. And I've told many people this, and only one person's called me out on how stupid it is because I was being negligent. I didn't think about developing countries where when I was picturing this meaning of life, it was truly a privileged developed country mentality where like you said, we have no purpose anymore. Not all of us are special. Not we don't all contribute to like living anymore. And living essentially was how do we survive? And that was the meaning of life, how to survive properly. And that's similar to stress where it's not really stress of trying to survive. It's more mental and social pains of sitting in traffic and that's your like stressor in life, the one that like makes you want to like kill everything, and being able to survive a 3 hour just stop and still one, or just dealing with people because anxiety is just on the rise where when you were fighting for your life from that saber-toothed tiger, you were not thinking, oh my god, are people watching me run? Like that's like that's like the extreme of anxiety. I'm mocking it because I have it, but that's not the point. The point was when I was thinking about it, the meaning of life to me was that we don't have one. That it's essentially almost gone because not all of us can be those creators that make the thing that keeps us going. We're relying on these special individuals that keep us surviving, keeping us going. But if you think about it, in developing countries where I did not think about, they're still trying to do the actual surviving thing. They don't have these grocery stores that if you did just want to just walk up to one, you'd be like, I don't have any food. Can I have something? They would probably give you at least something as compared to there where you're still trying to do the fight. You're killing things to eat while we go into our electric vehicles and drive down to the store.
To that, I say, take a breath. I understand that is the mentality that a lot of people get into, that our lives are meaningless. We are so small in this universe. How could our actions possibly make a
Yeah.
difference? I personally don't believe that. I understand it. I know it's there, but for me, I definitely believe in the ripple effect. I truly believe that my actions today will impact someone either immediately, later down the road, or both.
Yeah.
Probably both. I want to make this point to our viewers. You have to understand that your actions affect other people.
Mhm.
And you have to be careful about your attitude and how you live your life, because if the worst thing in your life really is sitting in traffic, you have some reevaluating to do. You need to use that time to listen to a great podcast, or listen to music, or listen to an audiobook. Expand your mind and look for ways to make those little frustrating things bearable so you can get to your job and do a kick-ass job helping people, or you can get to your job and help someone so they can help other people. If you are a genuinely kind person, and if you have have as much experience as possible in this short life, you're going to live a good life and you're going to make an impact in someone's life. And then it'll ripple, and someone, either who is in direct contact with you or not, will cure cancer.
Yeah.
Someone will create the newest technology. Someone will travel to, I don't know, Earth 2. I know that there's really cool things in space. That's just where my mind's at, but the possibilities are endless. So, I don't know. That provides me a little comfort whenever I'm feeling small.
Maddie always comes in with positivity, something I sometimes lack. No, but you're completely right that it really depends on, can you find that you are special, or the whole thing, I think we talked about it, where at the end of your life, do you feel like you've been accomplished in terms of for yourself or for others? And sometimes you have to be that selfless person that's, I may have not enjoyed my life, but I procreated, I made a child, and they're doing something and hopefully they're happy. Which is also kind of sad to think about, that someone did not find themselves happy, but they did have that, like you said, ripple effect.
At the end of my life, I just want to be happy with the people that I've impacted. I'm
Mhm.
sure I can get to a point where I can be grateful for myself and know that what I did actually matters. People are, especially these days, are their harshest critic, and a lot of people don't get to that point, and they get to their deathbed with regrets. And I really feel for those people. I think with a little bit of motivation and talking to the right people, getting the right help, anyone could be satisfied with their life by the time they end it.
Valid point, because in my class, which we're doing full circle with, we just covered death and the topic of not necessarily proper dying, because there's no such thing, but the ideal way, and especially with those, like you said, that may not find that comfort almost. And these are just random facts, but the they were giving was, it really depends on the family and medical providers and stuff to come together to give this person their final moments, essentially, where you have to help the person grieve, you have to make them comfortable, which means you have to help them plan something that's actually very devastating, because you, once you exit out of that denial and you enter acceptance, you want to plan ahead to provide for others. What was that?
It's a loud car. This is Berkeley, people.
It's like, I thought it was my stomach, but I was like, God damn. Shit. Um,
You were saying.
but yeah, death is obviously a heavy topic, and I could do a whole discussion on that. But in those moments, if you don't exit out of a denial and enter being proactive and problem solving, coping, and all of that, you are going to die unhappy. You are going to be surrounded by a lot of people too that aren't doing too hot, and it's never the greatest thing to end on that note. And obviously, from a dark perspective, maybe it won't matter in the end if that happened, but at the same time, wouldn't you rather go peacefully? Yeah. I just know a lot about death. Yeah. That was a very dark thing, but the concept was nice to just think about, especially because, very, very spewed thing, I was doing my final paper on the concept of death and COVID, especially because you don't get to have that luxurious experience of death that's calming, because you're not surrounded by your loved ones. You are stuck in that hospital bed, maybe via technology with your friends and family, or talking to only your doctor who's completely bundled up, and you're not able to say that I want to go home and die peacefully at home, which most people prefer, but instead you are in a hospital room where the doctors can't provide you that physical comfort either. And it's hard to accept something, because for some it's the idea of like, oh my god, I actually got this thing that I didn't know would actually kill me, or oh my god, I got this thing and I did all the work to prevent it. All these different thoughts, but and which makes it harder to get that final death acceptance. Yeah.
That's rough. I mean, I'm just trying to make the most of the pandemic, which is easy to do because I haven't gotten COVID and I don't really know anyone who has gotten COVID, just friends and friends of family friends and not people directly in my circle. And I feel a little spoiled about that. I really can't say I understand what it's like to lose a loved one to COVID, but obviously I realize that it's just tragic and it's just such a sucky thing that we are in this pandemic just because of a bat and the way it spread. And it's just frustrating, but gonna bring my positivity back into it. We just can't think like that. And no matter what your situation is, I do believe with the right counseling, with the right people by your side, even in a COVID world, obviously we didn't have the correct preparation for it.
Mhm.
Hopefully now we do, where someone can go peacefully in a pandemic like this. But I have to believe that it's for the greater good and that all of this will make sense at the end.
It's definitely a learning block, and on that, it was especially for at least the US where we weren't planned for this. I think it was the Trump administration completely did not make that backup plan for like all these hypothetical scenarios, and they had to create it on the spot, and that's what really screwed over the US, and not only just people choosing to go against maybe the rules and stuff, but that was a big factor, is that we weren't prepared. We were following along with everyone else, or we were making up on the way, and that's why we simp for Fauci till this day, because the man cannot stop and he is not allowed to stop.
Oh, Fauci, our boy.
I know. Did you know? My sister's boyfriend made me watch this. He's in a documentary about HIV and AIDS. This man has been at it since like way long ago, trying to fight the fight for all different reasons. He's, I just love him.
He's great. And you know what? All of the people that have crossed his path were a ripple effect for him to do all of this great, amazing things for his entire country, the entire world, arguably.
No, definitely, because I think he's on like the board of whatever. Like he's part of the WHOA now, like
Mhm.
speaking for them. But no, exactly. He was part of like that team that was essentially telling the world for the first time that y'all are scared of this thing, but unless you are like physically, like actually being intimate with this person, sharing needles, all of that, you're not going to get it. Stop fearing and being assholes. And
Mhm.
look at him now. He's like conquering a pandemic. Maybe not well sometimes, but he's doing the thing.
Yeah, more power to him. And people like him will come from really unfortunate situations like this. And who knows, maybe we'll be so much more prepared for the next pandemic because it's inevitable that, come on guys, I mean it's a trend. We get pandemics, we it happens,
Yeah.
but we're going to be much more prepared and we'll be able to stop it earlier in its tracks before it gets too bad.
Yes. I was thinking about Delta where I'm like, well, that's kind of different but the same, but I'm going to put it in the grouping of this current pandemic so like we look better.
Yes. Yeah, it's a mess, but just got to keep looking forward. Do the next right thing, be kind, do hard work, and we'll all get there.
Oh, Maddie. That was so sweet.
Well, I think on that note, this is a good place to wrap up. I'm really scared for this 1 minute wrap up because we went all over the place.
I know, I was just thinking that I'm like, I really hope Maddie gets it, but at the same time I need to prepare for the possibly inevitable.
Well, I'm gonna claim heads.
Okay.
Heads. Finally. If anyone should get it, it's me.
Oh,
It's about time.
thank the heavens.
That is calculator. I need
I
timer.
do that every time we have to do this, and I try not to verbalize it because I'm like, if they heard it over 5 different episodes that I've opened the calculator, it would be embarrassing at this rate.
All right. Starting now. Today, we talked a lot about biology and food. We talked about allergies and we talked about gluten. Avoid gluten unless you're gluten intolerant. Uh, we also talked about bystander effect and how a lot of us don't assume responsibility because we feel invisible and anonymous in a big group of people, and no one ever calls us out because at the end of the day, we all feel really small on this vast planet. But you should change that and you should do more things in your life to make a difference, or just be content with where you are in life right now, because if you do the next right thing for yourself, you will be doing the next right thing for your neighbor, and it'll be this ripple effect that will lead all of us to be successful and happy at the end of our lives. And that is 3 seconds.
Beautiful. I thought you went over because at the end you were just so casual about it. Like, I have the time. I'm doing it.
I realized that in the first 30 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, that I pretty much covered almost anything. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I just have to end this well and give people hope for the future, and then I can call it a day.
It was awesome. Oh my god. I think that was the calmest one we've had yet.
Well, I've been mentally preparing for these like every single episode, but I never get them.
I'm hoping for a trend that goes your way.
And then watch me not be prepared for those episodes. That's the fun thing about this coin toss. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. We hope you enjoyed our psychobabble. It was a little bit unpredictable, and we didn't talk about psychology for the entire time, but we ended up with, well, arguably you could say everything's related to psychology, so
Facts. We did it technically well then, if you want to think from that.
yes. So, again, thank you guys so much for listening. I'm Maddy.
And I'm Kimi.
Make sure you follow us on Instagram at thepsychoticbreak.pod. And we're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So check us out on all of our platforms and like, comment, do all that good stuff. We want to interact with you. We know you want to interact with us.
Oh yeah, deep down.
Deep down. We hope so. Anyways, thank you guys so much. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Bye.